Hello and welcome to New Perspectiveአዲስቅኝት Media.
New Perspectiveአዲስቅኝት Media is a Toronto-based digital and broadcasting media outlet that focuses on immigration, literature and art, community and culture.
If you have comments, questions or suggestions, please email us at addisቅኝት@gmail.com or call us at 647-761-7252.
You can listen to our weekly live radio on iHeartRadio, subscribe to our YouTube channel and download our app. Please visit our website at www.addisperspective.com. Welcome to New Perspectiveአዲስቅኝት. Freweini Berhane, the daughter of our friend, the late Aaron Berhane, the great writer, journalist. And now we are here to have a conversation about his new book, The Burden of Exile. It will be launched on November 6th at 2050 Danforth at Hirut Restaurant. So we will talk about his life, his legacy, and the new book, and your role as a daughter, and and what you are doing to keep on his legacy. So let's see a short video and we will come back.
ይህ አዲስቅኝት የሚዲያ አገልግሎት ነው።
So my name is Aaron Berhane. I'm from Eritrea originally, journalist. So I've been around almost for 17 years now. It's amazing how fast the time flies. Since I came to Canada and I became part and parcel of PEN Canada.
Contacts, I know his wife. I've met him privately. I've met him advocacy events. I've been into schools with him. I've worked on campaigns with him. I've written letters with him. And on a day in which the temptation is towards great sadness, I want instead to take a long view of his life and look at the enormous strengths that Richard was referring to. For those of you who don't know, Aaron's backstory is second to none. His journey to Canada would make a movie by itself. I know some of you here have similarly harrowing experiences, but Aaron's is quite astonishing. He could have been killed at 5 different points along the way. He survived and as you will remember, he was a very slow-speaking and deliberate human being, which belied a very quick intelligence that definitely saved his life when he escaped. I'll give you one brief example.
Okay, let's back to our conversation. So as we all know, Aaron was a very great personality. Unfortunately, after he passes all those challenges and up and downs and life-threatening incidents, but he can't escape the COVID pandemic. That's unfortunate. We really missed him. And what is life like after Aaron passed away? What's life like at home and for you personally?
Well, thank you for having me first and giving me this opportunity. Well, certainly life hasn't been the same, to say the least. There's just a huge void, like in our family and just even in myself. And we're still trying to, get over it and move on. But he's been a big part of our life, my life as well. as a father, as a role model, as a friend. So not easy, but we're trying our best, and it's just that we're trying to keep his legacy. It's just like, cherishing all the wonderful things he did when he was alive, and, setting an example, to learn something from that. That's what matters, because one day we all will be gone, and it's what we leave behind that matters. So we've been cherishing all the wonderful things and all the achievements he achieved when he was alive, and yeah, reliving those moments as much as we can.
That's wonderful. I know Aaron has so many friends, both from his community and from other Canadians. So tell us about the new book, The Burden of Exile. I know he wrote so many articles and so many accounts, but when did he wrote this new book that comes out recently?
So, well, I'll just share the book. I have it with me.
Yeah.
He's been writing this. He actually started writing it quite some time, but we all know life is hard in Canada, like busy, so he wasn't able to finish it. But when the pandemic hit, everyone was ordered to stay at home, and he really, really, I would say my father was one of the few people who made the pandemic, work like in his favor, basically. So he spent a lot of time writing it during those, like, even though he had like rough copy and drafts before, but that was the time that he really, like, finished majority of the chapters in order and everything. And it was going to be a surprise. Like, he wasn't even gonna tell me or my, like, my other siblings that he was writing a book. But then just before New Year, we started talking, and then I asked him, you always said that you wanted to write the book, like, is it in the process? And I don't know what changed his mind, but finally he decided to share the news that, yeah, I've actually been writing it and I'm almost done. Like, I only have one chapter left. And this was around, so like January, New Year, basically, 2021.
Yeah.
So, and then we were all excited, and it was like, yeah, I'm just wrapping up, and then I just need the one last chapter, and then hopefully will be published sometime this year. And yeah, that was probably like the last time we talked about the book. And then, as we all know, he passed away in May. So he was still not done with that last chapter.
Yeah.
But he did manage to finish, all those 11. So there were 12 chapters in general, and he finished 11 of them.
Did you get a chance to read the 11th chapter that he wrote before it was published?
I read the entire book, yes.
Yes. I mean, before it became a book. So
yes.
So what was your impression when you first read the manuscript?
I would say mixed emotions. It was like excitement, sadness. Also, like, at the same time, like, I was also learning a lot. I discovered some things that I didn't knew. So it was some of them shocking. So it was all mixed emotions, basically. But before, like, I wrap up the last chapter, like, I wanted to read all 11 chapters first and see the patterns that, he was writing, and then just to have an idea that how he would wanted the last chapter to end, so I can give him, maybe not the same as he hoped for, but at least close enough. So
you wrote the last chapter, the 12th chapter.
The last chapter, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a very tough responsibility, I think. Do you have any idea how he wanted to conclude it, and to finish the book, or just you use your own imagination to finish it?
I had some idea, and this was also around the New Year time when we were talking about it.
Yeah.
He gave me like a brief overview that, what he wrote so far, but he don't want to spoil all the details. So he just said that, the last chapter would be, about you guys, how you managed to escape Eritrea and join me here. And he also asked for my notebook. So when we escaped from Eritrea to Sudan, I guess you can say it was hereditary that I got that from my father, that I had a notebook. So I was recording like every moment. So the date and the event that happened. So when we come here, like, I wanted to share with him. And also, like, I somehow in my head, I had the idea that you never know, one time we can write this a book, because it was quite a journey ourselves as well. It was very, difficult and traumatizing, which almost every Eritrean actually go through. But to say the least, it was, pretty horrible. So I wanted to document every event that we went through. So I had a notebook. And so when we were having this discussion, he asked that, I want to share, like, I wanted to use the notebook as a reference of, all the events you guys went through, so I can, include it in my. So I was like, yes, of course, it's somewhere, I will find it, I'll give it to you. So that was my starting point. So I had an idea that he wanted to, so the last chapter, he wanted to describe how he got his family out of Eritrea to join him. And then, so that was my starting point. It's like, and then I assumed that, okay, that's what he wanted. And well, I hope I did what he wanted to,
That's what a child is for. When a dad passes his footsteps,
carry on that legacy.
So this is a very, symbolic interaction with your dad, writing the last chapter of his book. And
it's an honor. It's an honor, definitely. Yes.
And tell us about, those 8 years that you were separated, and when he was here and when you were in Sudan. So I know he has been through a lot of trauma and challenge. Tell us a few about that time and how you incorporate it in the book.
So the 8 years we were apart, they were very difficult for us, and even for my father. Like, he was always worried that what would happen to us. It's like, would the government do something just, out of spite because they couldn't get him? So he was always worried. He was, even on the phone, he always would give us, be careful. Like, he can't say all what he wants to say, but he was always very, like, tell us, to be cautious. But when he left, we were pretty young. So I'm the oldest, and I was 8.5 years old. So I had even no idea, like, he suddenly disappeared. And then I'm asking these questions, like, I'm bugging my mom, like, like, why is he not here? Like, why is he not coming home? And my mom was like, he's coming back. He just went somewhere for a couple weeks, and then weeks turned into months. And then I was like, she started telling me that, he's in America. He's studying something in there. And that kind of stopped me from asking all those annoying questions every day. But at the same time, it did not give me closure as well. Like, it's like, why would he disappear suddenly then? Like, why wouldn't he say goodbye? It's like, why would he decide to just, pack and leave? But even if she tells me the whole, detail, I was too young. Like, I probably wouldn't understand. So, I was just telling my friends, he's in America, he's studying something. And then months has turned into years. And then as I grow up, and then I start asking more questions, because It's like, why can't he come visit then? Okay, he's in America, but is he not allowed to visit? And after a while, and when my mother deemed that I'm old enough, to understand the situation, she told me, briefly, not the whole detail, but she told me that he can't come back. He had to escape the country because the government was after him for speaking the truth and stuff like that. And for me, it was just heartbreaking, because I've always been like very close with him, and he's very good, like with children, not only with his own children, but with everyone. He's like, he acts within your level, so he's always been understanding. So I had a really hard time accepting the fact that he's not with us anymore. But then after I learned that, why, I kind of understood, it's not his choice. He was forced. So I was just trying to accept the fact that, okay, maybe one day, maybe we will go to him, or maybe he will come back. But at least now that I look back, for us, we were at home, we were surrounded by family. For him, I can't imagine how hard it was, being in a foreign country without your family, without your friends, learning a new culture, adapting to a new reality. So yeah, side by side, I can't even comprehend like how hard it was for him. And on top of that, he has to worry that, how can he reunite with his family, because he knows how the government works, and it wouldn't be an easy journey. So for all of us, it wasn't easy. And especially for my little brother, he was around 6 months when my dad left, so he barely knew him. So for him, it was just like a story. Oh, my dad lives in Canada, and that's all he knew. So yeah, quite a difficult journey.
But finally, you were reunited, and I saw that on the Globe and Mail.
Yes.
He mentioned that he was happy when he was reunited with his family, but his happiness would be full when he sees that his friends were really reunited. So it's a very touchy, statement. So how is it like the day you remember that day when you were reunited with him?
I do vividly. I remember it very vividly. It feels like just yesterday. It felt like a dream, not just for that day, but for a good 2 months. It's like I feel like every time I wake up, oh, it's probably going to be a dream, because it happened so many times before. It's like I would dream that, we were all reunited, and then you wake up, oh, it's a dream. We're still in Eritrea or in Sudan. So when we actually came to Canada, it still felt like a dream. Like I would want it to like pinch myself, maybe like make sure it's, the new reality. So for good 2 months, I still felt like, I was dreaming. And the first day was like, it was just all shocking, It was just like you freeze, that you don't know, is this, the moment that we were all been waiting for years. And now that it's finally there, that it doesn't feel real. And it takes some time to adjust the new reality. But then, yeah, I would say that was like one of the happiest moments of my life. And it was pretty amazing. Yeah, I
can imagine, because I have the same experience as well. So my son is after 4 years after we met, telling me that what was the reason that you left, and he asked his mom, and she's telling him, but he can't comprehend, he can't understand.
I can understand, yeah.
So now he's telling me that how he feels. So I really feel how we
saying. You can relate, yeah.
Exactly. So he paid a lot. So this is all paid for freedom of expression, for free thinking, and to be a free man, a free thinker. So this is not a sacrification for his own family only. It's for humans, for all of us. So that's why we are appreciate what he has done to humanity. So Aaron is not only Eritrean, he's not only Canadian. He is, the best human being. So, but thanks God that he wrote this book. I hope you will follow his footstep, and you will write us another account hopefully soon.
Hopefully, yeah.
No, last time you read an extract from his book. Was it from this book or from another account?
It was from this book. Yeah.
Okay,
I just had to cut some down because, as you remember, we had 10 to 12 minutes, so I couldn't read the entire chapter.
Yes.
But yeah, it's from the book.
And to be honest, I want you to tell me what's Aaron's legacy. How Eritreans are perceiving about Aaron. How they understand him, how they feel about him after he passed, even before he was alive.
Yeah. Well, my dad, he is the definition of bravery, a resilient person, always fighting, for freedom and for human right. He always puts other people's before him. It's never about him. It's always, he's selfless, basically. He's and as you were saying that, you remember him saying he was thrilled to have his family reunited, but he still could not sleep on how his friends are still, jailed. So that's the kind of my father was. He's not just caring about himself. He's always looking after, and then he always tries to be the voice for the voiceless. And especially coming from our, community, like, the Eritrean or like, the Habesha community in general, I guess we grew up in a very oppressed community. So we don't stand out and voice our voice, we don't have that. But with my father, that was just exceptional to me, like the way he carried himself, how brave he was. He was never scared of any consequences that might come because of, how he fights the government and how he advocates for all the imprisoned journalists and others, that are detained without any justice back home. So he was never afraid of the consequences, because at the end of the day, he believed that, we should always stand and advocate for freedom, for human rights, and at the same time, be a role model, that you shouldn't be scared and just sit down, because no change will come if no one stands up. So that's how I think most of people would see him. But I know not everyone is on the same page. Those who do not support his activities, or his advocacy, might consider him, a stubborn person who doesn't know when to stop. But I still think that's a good thing, because it takes a great courage, and it takes a great courage to be that type of person, for standing up for what you believe, for no matter.
Exactly.
He's not a quitter.
No, he was not. It was not easy to fight for freedom of expression in a country like ours. Eritrea is our country.
Exactly. Yeah.
We have been through in this tyranny and oppressive systems for centuries.
For so many years, exactly.
So we don't get a chance to enjoy democracy or any freedom of the press. So Aaron paid that. He laid the foundation for Eritrean press.
You're watching New Perspective Media. Please subscribe to our channel. Thank you for being with us.
And I'm wondering where that courage comes from. I know he joined the independence war while he was so young. I think at 9.
He was very 9.
9. So he was very young to join that movement. So do you think that gives him the strength to stand before any challenge?
You know what? I always wonder sometimes as well, because it's unmatched. Like, his bravery, like his courage is sometimes you'll be like, I think it's like it's all the different factors, all the different events, all the different circumstances he's been through that made him who he was. As you said, he joined the the Eritrea, like EPLF, or at a very young age, at 9. And then he lost his 3 big brothers in the war, right? So for him, it was like they've already sacrificed so much for the country to see a bright future for themselves and for the future generation. And when he saw that, things were not as what he hoped for, he had that, burning flame inside of him, because that's not what, they all fought for. They were fighting for a better life, for a better future, for all of us. So that was always like, the catalyst inside of him, like, always pushing him, and this is not what we fought for, that is not. So he was always brave and courageous, but also that added, that I would say it was a catalyst to enhance, that courage and bravery. And then not everyone can handle that, but he, put it into effect. Like, he's always fighting for a change and, fighting for freedom of expression. And he did it. I know he's listening to us right now, and I want to tell him that he did it.
He did it. We all believe that he did it. He did his part, and he gave the torture to the next generation. So now we will keep on the fighting.
The fight, yeah.
So let's come back to the book launching that comes November 6th at Hirut. So what is it like? What's your preparation? What do you want to tell us? What do you want to tell to our community, to his friends, whatever?
Yeah, so basically the main thing is it's a celebration, This was like one of his biggest dreams. And even though he's not here to see it, we want to make sure that it's celebrated, because he did work hard for it. And it's a story, it's a story that will encourage and teach a lot of people about resilience, about bravery, about all the suffering that journalists or, other fighters that go through. And it's a pretty life-changing story that we all want to, we want everyone to read it and be part of it, right? So the initial goal for the book launch is basically to celebrate it, just to celebrate that he's been through a lot. He's been his journey was extraordinary, and he was able to share that journey with the world. So for us, like, we want to celebrate that. Like, he made it, he's been through all of this, but that journey, that history will be transferred to younger generation and to other people and around the world. So it's just like, when you go to school, you graduate, and you have a graduation party celebrating your success and achievement. This is pretty much like that. For us, it's a big thing. We're celebrating his achievement and his success. And at the same time, we also want to promote it. So we want everyone to, read the book and learn the outstanding life story of Aaron Berhane. And I know a lot of people know him already, but not, there's always something that is not shared with the public, and this will allow him to know him more as a person, not just as an advocate or an activist, but as a person, what type of person Aaron was and his life journey.
That's wonderful. I know that so many things are happening after his he passed away, and there are scholarship programs and different things happening where he was teaching at George Brown University. And tell us about that, to keep on his legacy in Canada and the Writers in Exile group that you're sharing, doing so many activities. Tell us about that in detail.
That was an amazing thing that they did. It was we were all very thrilled when we found out that they were trying to do this, because we're all gonna die one time, but we want the legacy to live forever. So the initiatives that's happening, they actually came up with a lot of different ones. So one of them being the scholarship at George Brown College, where he was teaching news and media, introduction to news and media. So they created this scholarship by his name, so other students, regardless, if they're Eritreans or not, it's open to anyone who would like to study, not just journalism, but in general. So it would give them, so it's like a bursary. So it would pay off the course that they're taking. So it might not cover their entire tuition fee, but at least it will help them to cover some of the education expenses, so they can become the person they want to be. And the person they want to be might be a journalist who would continue the work that my father did when he was alive, fighting for others, become a voice for the voiceless, just sharing the truth. So it's a pretty amazing thing, yeah. And I hope whoever gets the scholarship, it would be amazing if they study journalism, because it enhances the whole effect. But regardless, when a person is educated, they can bring a change. It doesn't matter what way. It could be, in a different way. We all have our own different potential and our own different path. And the main thing is, always, helping others, making the world a better place. And I hope that that's what the scholarship is. It's set for, so people can have easy access to education, and the financial burden would not stop them from pursuing their dreams, basically. I hope I answered your question.
You answered it. I think, talking to a burden of exile, what was the main burden that Aaron and all the exile writers and journalists are facing in exile? So what was the core burden in the book that Aaron wants to show us?
To show us. I don't want to spoil too much, but I would say the common thing would be, well, first of all, adjusting to the new country. It's a burden itself, You're away from your home country, from your culture, from your friends and family. So that's a different set of challenge and burden itself. And on the top of that, trying to create a newspaper or a media is a different level kind of challenge, especially in our community. Our community, they're not very engaged in news or in media. One thing I wouldn't blame them is the lifestyle is pretty, busy and hectic, and everyone's trying to make ends meet. But the main problem would be, especially in the Eritrean community, the division between the supporters of the Isaias regime and then the opposition. So there is a huge division and a huge gap between those people. And when you become a journalist, for example, when he created the Meftah newspaper, his intention was, for the newspaper to be a community newspaper that brings everyone together, share information or anything for everyone, regardless of your political views. But that is very challenging in our community because they mix everything. They don't see what things for what they are. They always see so just because my father doesn't support the government, so someone who support the government would not read the newspaper because simply my father personally is anti-Isaias government. So there's just small-minded thinking that. So that was a huge challenge for him, and I assume for other journalists as well, because when you publish a newspaper, it's like your expectation is to bring the community together, especially in exile. We're already far away from home. The least thing we need is division between us. We need to unite, strengthen our community, keep our culture, teach our children or the new generation of our origin and everything. But when you have that so much division and hate just because you have a different view or different perspective, you can't be on the same page. And when your community are not in the same page, it is a huge obstacle for the journalists to create a successful, a news media, basically, because it's
We have the same challenge actually. The division is there. We all have the same problem. So the politics and what's happening back home is highly influenced the diaspora. So that's a challenge we all are facing.
amazing.
Aaron paid, a great price for that. So tell us about that. I think that was the reason why he stopped publishing Mafta. I think because of the challenge.
It was a lot of challenge, yes. So one of the things was when he distributes the newspaper, he used to distribute it in, like Habesha convenience store or like Habesha restaurants, because that's mainly where our people can have easy access. And the people who did not support him or who did not like his way, they would tear up the newspaper, they throw it in the garbage. So like as soon as it's distributed, they will collect like all of the newspaper from every convenience store or every restaurant, and then they throw it in the dumpster. That's just like, childish in a way, but they just don't want. And then the main thing is like, if he was, preaching like it wasn't about politics. That's the thing. That's what I'm trying to share. Like, you can disagree with his political views, but what he was writing on the newspaper, it was mainly like, it's for the community, like, how to access like the Canadian.
The paper was open. I think people can write their opinions as well.
Their opinion too, yeah. So it was open for everyone. But no, they wouldn't publish anything. They just tried to create obstacles so he wouldn't. They did that. They vandalized his car so many times. It was just, he had to pay a hefty price for that. And then when we arrived, it was like the treatment, like, it's like even for us, like whenever you go to church, you get that, the treatment or the way people look at you is like not welcoming, and it was hard, especially for him, because he didn't want, this was like his understanding was, this is me. If you don't understand, if you don't agree with what I'm doing, confront me, do not pass that hate or to my family or to my children. But, not a lot of people have that understanding or, have that cognitive ability to comprehend that, as simple as that, they would still act childish or so. Yeah, so many things, starting from the vandalism of his car a couple times, throwing out the newspaper and confronting him. It's just like, like every time we goes to like any Habesha gathering, there's always someone telling him, oh, you're like a traitor, you're something. And when we came, like he didn't want us to see that, For him, he accepted it. He knows what challenges, he's facing or he's expecting, but he didn't want us to see it, basically. Like he didn't want us to feel that,
Yeah, it's very tough. But what was your response as a family? I know this is very tough. He has to provide a bread for his family, and sometimes even from within the family, people might say, why don't you stop it? If it's not, good enough, just stop it.
Just stop it. Yeah. I think I might have said that one time myself. I'm like, just why not just, forget it and just focus on yourself. But one thing with my father is, if he set his mind to one thing and if he truly believes that, that he could make a change with that, he would do it. And the thing with him was like, he wasn't doing it for the money. The newspaper was never for the money. He was just trying to share awareness, create awareness in the Eritrean community, keep them engaged. And because, he already lost so much, and all he wanted to do was bring everyone together. At least, we're all away from home, so why not seek all the, exploit all the opportunities that Canada has to provide. Even like publishing the newspaper itself, it's a reflection of what type of person he was, because no one did it before him in the Eritrean community. He was the first one who came and published. So it was never for the money. It was never. And so that was the thing. Whenever he gets a question or response like that, oh, why don't you just stop it? It's just because it was never about the money, or it was like he knew, like when he decided to open a newspaper, he knew what kind of challenges he would face, because he's already been that back home in Eritrea, right? So he was ready. he was just ready for the challenge, and he was ready to pay whatever price, he had to pay. But at the same time, like, I guess it was a bit hard for him when that the challenge was not, it didn't really affect us that much, but for him, like, he didn't feel safe, I guess.
Yeah.
Or, because people sometimes they make irrational decisions. Just because they couldn't get him, they might do something, to us, or do something stupid. So he didn't want to take that risk, basically, when it came to his family. Like, his family was his number one priority. He would do anything to protect his family. And eventually, I guess, yeah, he stopped publishing it, but he was still writing articles and everything online. So yeah.
And what are the others, despite the challenges that he faces from his community? There are other challenges as an exile, so he mentioned about that as well in the book.
Yes, he did. Yeah, it's not just from the community, but also like in general, And when he first came, he was in Regina, Saskatchewan, not Toronto, which is a lot different than Toronto, because here at least it's.
You joined him in Regina?
Yeah, when he first arrived, he was in Regina, so it's not as diverse and multicultural as Toronto. So he did face a lot of that. I mean, he does share some of the stories in the book, so I don't want to spoil it much, but he did share some of the discriminations he faced as a new immigrant in Regina, considering there are a lot of I don't want to sound racist, but less diverse community. It was very less, so there were treatment, like some of them, they would assume that he was a Muslim just because, and then they would call him like Muhammad or Ali, and they would tell them, no, that's not my name. I'm just like, yes, that's your name, just accept it. And then one time it was like what was it? At a convenience store.
Yeah.
Like one white guy came in, and then he was just being rude to him, and then he said, like, can I help you? Like, did I do something wrong? And then he's like, it's all of you black people are like that, something like that. So he does share some of the discriminations he faced in Regina, not just from the Eritrean community, but from the Canadians as well.
Yes, as well. And the problem is multi-layered, especially when you come to a new country and try to become a journalist or a writer. It's not an easy thing. So there's a way. He showed us so many examples, and we thank him for that. And hopefully, and he was fighting for the right of exiled writers and journalists. He wants to see their life changed, and he wants to see, to get opportunities in their writing and in their profession. I hope, many people bought his idea, and now they are trying to push what he was proposing. So what do you see from 5 years from now, what your dad was envisioned about exiled writers and journalists?
With him, it's one thing I say about my dad is, like, he's always busy. He always has a plan for something. It's like you never find him having free time, or no plan at all. There's always something. So one of them was, like, I believe it was last year, that not for writers in exile, but generally they were organizing a big event for all the journalists that were detained back home around the same time they were arrested. So basically their anniversary. And then and then my dad was the main lead in that, organizing that event. And here, like, he's always sharing that story with everyone. And with Writers in Exile, he was also one of the board members. So he also planned to create like an online course, like, give some tips, like, like instructions, like how to write, like, simple story, or like, articles. Not just, for the Eritrean or the Habesha community, but also like for everyone in general, because he wanted to share that, his knowledge as well about, writing. It's like, it was his passion. Like, he loved writing. He was already thinking of a second book, so he had so many plans. And I mean, unfortunately, some of them, they won't happen. But for whatever he started, or for whatever that we can carry on, we will do our best to, to execute those plans and, make him happy.
I believe so. You already started the way, the journey. So tell us about yourself a bit, and we will finish our conversation. And I know you are in a different profession, but you still love writing. You read. So will you change your profession to writing? Will you come to our camp, or you stay there?
Well, you never know. Sometimes, life takes you into unexpected journey. But like, personally, like, I am more into like the medical field, which also I like to share. My father also loved like biology and chemistry. It's like when he was younger, that was his main, they were like his favorite subjects.
Yeah.
And if he hadn't decided that to be a journalist, that he probably would have ended up in the medical field. So we already had that one in common.
You fulfill your dream in that way.
Yeah. But when it comes to writing, as I said, he was like my role model in everything. So even though when I was in school, he was still helping me. Like, every time I have an assignment or anything, it's like I always go to him for, to help me with edit it or anything like that. And he always encouraged me, to write, not just, for school assignments or projects, just to. And I would say, like, I'm not extremely passionate, but I still, like, as I told you already, I was like making notes of our journey when we were coming. So that was just like, it's just like an innate reaction. It wasn't like, because I was told or anything like that. So like in my head, I had the idea, it's just like, this can be written into a book, share our journey with the people, So I think somehow it's still in my blood. So
Hey, we get another new.
oh, no.
So that's how legacy keep.
Keep the legacy. Yeah. So my background was mainly writing, like, in school, like for school assignments and stuff like that. And when it was time to finish that last chapter, the editor was asking me that if I have any like writing background, and then I told him, yeah, but it's mainly for like medical, like in the science field, like research paper and stuff like that, and not really about storytelling. And then it was like, it's not a problem at all, like we're here, like we will help you with all the editing and stuff. But I think the only difference with this one was everything came from the heart. I didn't have to think, this is not a made up story, right? it's not a fiction, that I don't have to create fake characters or anything like that. It was real, and then it was all coming like from the heart. So it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. But at the same time, like I was like very passionate that I wanted to see the book completed and published. So that was like a big motivator for me, this has to happen. Like, I was extremely like determined to see this book completed and published. So that gave me the strength to finish that last chapter.
That's amazing. You already started the journey. So your foot is one foot.
One foot in the water.
So hopefully you'll come fully to
the water. Yes, of course. You never know.
Yes. Live, and we expect you to read for the Exile Writer reading series next time.
Yes, of course. I will join you the next time. Yeah.
Yeah, we have November 20. We have our second reading. Hopefully you'll join us then. I'm so happy. I'm so glad to have this beautiful conversation with you, Freweini, and congratulations again publishing your dad's book and fulfill his dream. Hopefully you'll write your own, and we will launch it soon. And congratulations to all the family members and your mom and your brothers as well.
I will. Thank you so much also, for inviting me here and allowing me to share my father's history and then share something from the book. My family are also very grateful and hope to see you on the book launch on November 6th.
Hello and welcome to New Perspective አዲስቅኝት Media.
New Perspective አዲስቅኝት Media is a Toronto-based digital and broadcasting media outlet that focuses on immigration, literature and art, community and culture.
If you have comments, questions or suggestions, please email us at addisቅኝት@gmail.com or call us at 647-761-7252.
You can listen to our weekly live radio on iHeartRadio, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and download our app. Please visit our website at www.addisperspective.com.